This is the first official podcast. Basically, we listen to a lot of football podcasts, and all our favorite podcasters go to the graveyard and take underdog, 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 fade the public, fade the public, fade the public. Tired of it, so we're going to do it ourselves. Give you a quick background about us, our favorite teams. Try not to bet on those in general, but Dalt, give a little intro. Tell us your favorite teams. Let's get this rolling.
Yeah, so I'm what a lot of Philly people like to say, fake Philly fan, not from there, but been Philly bred my whole life. Shout out Pops. Diehard Eagles fan. Don't really have a favorite college team, but love to gamble.
All right, we are kicking this off on a bad note because I'm a diehard Steelers fan, Penn State. Also, shout out Pops, not from there as well. Kind of a bad look, but we're gonna get this podcast rolling. Let's recap. So today is Friday. Last night was Thursday night football. We both made a lot of money. Talk us through your picks, and then let's get into this weekend slate.
Yeah, I had three main picks. Seattle was my big one, just straight on the money line. Also, Charbonnet with the anytime, just kind of seems like Seahawks stay away from Kenneth in the red zone, and they did last night, giving them two chances, both times they're in the red zone. So going 2-1 with my loser being the over at 43.5. Thought that I would have a saving grace with overtime, but didn't happen.
Yeah, no. And then I did not bet pregame on any lines, just a player prop, which I'll get to in a second. In game, I hit Cardinals plus 3.5 and plus 11.5, both paid. A lot of my friends in group chats are on Seahawks. Glad we could all win. I did have Marvin Harrison anytime, and Marvin Harrison laddered up all the way to 91 receiving yards. Did make profit on the night, did definitely lose some on that 71, 81, and 91 yards. Marvin Harrison ended with 66 yards. Going into the fourth quarter, I thought I was going to be done for the weekend and absolutely murdered. But what can I say? Marvin delivers. He's elite. His father was elite. Don't let's get into some college football. Starting off tonight, UVA versus FSU. I do want to call out before we say anything. UVA played FSU 2 years ago. They lost by 3, 27-24. And guess who the quarterback was? No, I said FSU. I meant Boston College. Tommy, your boy Tommy Z. They know who the quarterback is. They know how to play FSU. This is an ACC matchup. Before Dalton even speaks, you know where I'm going to be.
Yeah, I'm on Virginia here, playing at Scott Stadium in Charlottesville Friday night. I did see an email on Twitter from the school staff that they're not shutting down classes today, and I think it's absolutely bullshit. I mean, we got Virginia coming in, about to be a top 5 team for the first time, and I couldn't tell you how long, but I could guarantee it's been a few years. So I'm on the Hoos tonight. Like them +7. Probably throw them in some teaser legs at +10, +10.5. Think they're a great pick. And notoriously, I've seen Friday nights be just underdog. We saw it last week with some big upsets. And I think Friday night, big college football underdog night. So I'm rolling with the Hoos +7.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Jumping into Saturday, are there any huge games that stick out to you? We will get to the Penn State, Oregon, Bama, Georgia in a little bit, but let's start with some of the basics.
Yeah, I don't love a ton early on. I would say just from a bounce back spot, Illinois, USC had traveling to Illinois. I think USC and Lincoln Riley have struggled on not only on the road but against the spread of 5 or more. And I just think it's a good spot for Illinois after getting blown out by Indiana last week. And I was on Indiana in that game, and I just think Indiana does things to teams that most others don't. And I think it'll be a good spot for Illinois early game. Get right back on track. So I'm going with +6.5, -105.
Yeah, totally see what you see in that. I did jump into the next game. I did go to Virginia Tech, and I do not bet on Virginia Tech much. However, Drones looked good last week. He was delivering the ball where it needs to be to his receivers. I have to take plus 10.5. This is going to be a really small bet, but I would be mad if I didn't. The 4:30 or 3:30 and nighttime games are electric, so hopefully that will put me on the right track. Dol, any other games? Do you have a pick in Ohio State, Washington?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say I have a strong pick. I do think a lot of the sharps are on Washington just based on what they've done, especially at home, how strong they are this year. And to be honest, I'm not a big believer in that Ohio State quarterback. So I do think they'll struggle early on going into a road environment, having their real first test outside of Texas. So I lean Washington plus 8.5, but definitely don't like it as much as I do Virginia. So probably be a no bet for me, or if I do some small parlays, throw them in there, maybe again tease them up to 10.5. Yeah, I do think Ohio State wins that game though.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are agreeing, and Jeremiah Smith is so elite. I do want to just call out, I am taking Washington up to plus 10, and I am taking UVA up to plus 8.5. And I will be having that with multiple parlays. One, as a fan, is going to be Penn State, but that is more as a fan. We are going to get to that game in a second. Before we go there, any other games you want to call out, Dalt? And I really want to hear your thoughts on Georgia Bama. I have some moneymaker picks for that game.
Yeah, I going to contradict what we kind of started with at the beginning of this podcast of fading the public, but anytime I see 90% of bets and money on a team, definitely worries me. And we got UMass traveling to Mizzou at 44.5 this week, and that's just way too many points. UMass is trying to turn that program around. They're investing in the stadium, they're investing in their coaches, getting more NIL money. I think they have better players, and they've shown better product on the field over the last few years. So I think it's way too many points. So I'll be taking UMass plus 44.5.
Okay. I love it. Only other thing I'll say is, again, this is not about fading the public, but I thought Auburn had a great showing last weekend. I thought Coleman was an absolute dog. Arnold Jackson gets it done. He can use his legs. He can actually take sacks too. I mean, hopefully I don't jinx it and there's no big injury this week, but I'm going to have to buy Auburn up 1 point and take them plus 7.5. I do know Texas A&M is absolutely electric. They're a great team. I think they're coming in at 9 right now, depending on the poll you look at. I will be taking Auburn plus 7.5. And I hate to say it, I love it. It's going to be one of my larger plays of the day. And yeah, anything else before we get into the two big nighttime games?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off that, was on Auburn last week at 6.5 and never had a doubt that I was going to lose. And that safety ended up costing me big. So again, I do like Auburn, but probably going to stick away from this one, just solely for the reason of last week. But other than that, I also lean Auburn.
Hey, good teams. They don't not cover back-to-back weeks. But all right, let's move to the two nighttime games. You guys can see from the shirt, I have had tons of relatives. My dad has gone to Penn State. I've been watching them since I was 4 years old. Not to piggyback on what every other podcast in the world says, but it is true. If the run game gets going with Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, and they are running the ball 4 to 7 yards every single play, it's the Big Ten O-line. We win, period. With that being said, when you're talking about running, and you're playing a great coached Oregon team, saying you're going to cover 3.5 by running, and scoring points occasionally is very, very, very stressful. I mean, I don't know what Dalton's about to say. We did not actually talk about our picks before this, but I think you could take Penn State money line. I would just stay away from the points. If your book offers it, Nicholas Singleton anytime, Katron anytime, parlay them both. Put 1 for 2, 1 for 1. That's money makers. I mean, if you're getting real crazy, you got to look out for Pena. He's a great receiver. Aller's taking a liking to him. We got a great tight end room. Drew Aller will run it in. At the end of the day, I'm watching this game. I'm cheering for Penn State. I'm a diehard fan. So generally going to stick away from it, but for fun, I will have it at the end of some of my parlays. Dalt, thoughts?
Yeah, I be honest, I don't love either of the spreads in the later games, especially Oregon, Penn State. I do think Penn State at home, Oregon going into Happy Valley, it is going to be a very tough environment for sure. So definitely lean towards Penn State on the money line. I also not to backtrack to an earlier game, but 3:30 Eastern time, LSU also heading to Ole Miss. That'll probably be my parlay of taking Ole Miss at home. I think Lane Kiffin is going to show his girlfriend's his future brother-in-law what's up, and so sorry, son-in-law. So I'll be taking that'll probably just be a 2-leg parlay money line, keeping it simple. Ole Miss at home, Penn State at home. Take the two who pretty even matchups, but with the home environment, getting the points, I think they both pull it off. So that'll be a parlay. I think it's like plus 170, plus 180.
Yeah. The point of these podcasts, we're going to keep it 20 minutes, 25 minutes. We're going to give you our picks. We're going to give you some facts. We're going to talk about, the big trend, but we do want to keep it quick, have something you can throw on for a walk, for a run at the gym, driving somewhere. So we want to get to NFL, but before that, Bama, Georgia, I do not know what's going to happen in this game, but I can guarantee you, number 5 on Bama, Bernard, anytime touchdown scorer. He is NFL ready today. And to cover that, I'm going to also take Ryan Williams yards. I'm going to ladder him up if the earlier games go well. I'm going to take him anytime too. I think I lean over. I'm not touching this game. I would never touch this game. If I can get Georgia live plus 3.5 or more, I'm going to take it. I love betting Georgia and Bama. So when they play each other, it makes it very hard for me. I do actually hate both teams, though. They're cash cows when they're down. They're historic programs. Dalt, where do you lean in this game?
I'm definitely in a similar boat as you. I think we both bet Bama and Georgia probably more than we should, just from being perennial powerhouses and consistently going to championship over the years, and being a big believer in Kirby Smart and then previously Nick Saban. I don't think Kalen DeBoer carries half of what the culture of Saban brought in. So definitely have stayed away from Bama over the last year or two. I again lean Georgia. I think it's worth noting, though, that Bama has won, I want to say 7 out of the last 8 out of the last 9. So definitely tough fading that Alabama team, but I do think that it'll be tough doing it in Athens. And I think it's important to bring up last year, that game in Tuscaloosa where Bama went up 34-0. Georgia came back, and then Bama ended up winning it. And I was on Alabama that game. And I think Georgia's going to come out and do their thing, even though the public's all over them.
Yeah. And all right, let's shift gears to NFL. We got about 9 minutes left in this pod. We can fly through it. Just to give you a little bit of background, I make my money on college football, and then I make my money on NFL. Anytime touchdown scorers in 2-team parlays, money line. Not a big spread guy. Dalton's going to lean to his strength there. He's going to give a lot better picks, a lot better parlays with spreads in them, with teams overall. I'm a touchdown scorer guy. I am a 2-pick money line guy. I do have a few picks, but I was talking all week. I do not love this week. I don't know what you're going to get out of the Falcons. They're favored. Everyone's on the Commanders. It's incredibly suspect. The Browns just beat the Packers. Are the Lions going to put up 28 points or more? Or is it going to be low scoring? I mean, You got New England, Carolina. What's going to happen there? I think week 3 is very, very interesting. You got Chiefs as a dog, which we all love. Not sure what's going to go on. Dalt, kick us off.
Yeah, well, what about starting with your early game over overseas, Vikings and Steelers? I really don't know. I think last week we saw the Vikings. Carson Wentz was impressive, but it's also a lot easier to play as a backup quarterback when you know your defense is doing what they're doing. When they're scoring points, takes a lot of the pressure off, and you know you can just kind of play more freely. So tough to really analyze what Wentz did there. I do think he looked good, and part of the reason I am a little bit of a believer in Wentz, same reason I believed in Danny Dimes since week 1. I just think being a veteran presence, once you have a certain amount of years under your belt as a quarterback, you just kind of understand systems, you know what's going on. So I do think Carson Wentz is more of an NFL quarterback now than he was probably jumping around teams, and he was obviously great for us at the Eagles. So definitely tough to make a pick here, probably leaning away. It is also important to note that the Vikings are playing back-to-back in Europe. So they'll be staying out there. So I don't really have a pick though, I would say.
Yeah, and I do want to call out for people who truly love football. If you really break down last week's game, the Vikings played a backup quarterback. They played an O-line that could not protect Joe Burrow. So, of course, they're not going to protect Jake Browning. I think that's how you say his name. I really have not been too invested in him. But basically, they got a pick-6 touchdown. They got a fumble recovery touchdown on defense. Backup quarterbacks with terrible O-lines don't bounce back from those type of plays. They come out flat the next drive. I just think it was a total Vikings domination. With that being said, I don't know how everyone loves the Steelers this week. They looked pretty flat against New England. Minnesota looked great. I love taking my Steelers tight ends. I like DK Metcalf. I like Calvin occasionally. I mean, I'm going to say I like them all, but I don't really bet the Steelers. And for that reason, this week especially, I'm going to stay away. I think the Steelers would be great to grab down 7, down 14 if it gets there, God forbid, because they're good. Rodgers knows how to play in the fourth. Our defense knows how to get takeaways. 5 takeaways last game. But let's jump to the games you do like, Dalt. Give us a few picks. I know we're running near time here, but I want to give the picks.
Yeah, I do. Going off that point though, with the Steelers, I do think the Steelers are a good teaser leg, bringing them up to 7.5, taking or 8.5, taking 6 points. I just don't. The Steelers aren't a team in my eyes that lose by a lot of points, and especially with such a low total at 41. I do think that's a great teaser leg. Started with the earlier games. Now that Jaden Daniels gets ruled out, they move across 0 to plus, from -1.5 to +2.5, and now they're +120 on the money line. So definitely interesting. I leaned Commanders before that news with the hopes of Daniels playing and that number going up. Now that it's down, probably stay away. One game that I do like is taking the Saints with the points this week at 16. I know they looked awful last week. More for me, Josh Allen has never covered as a double-digit spread, as a double-digit favorite. We saw that with the Dolphins last Thursday night. And I just think when back against the wall, I think there's a lot of guys in that Saints locker room, older guys, Cam Jordan, Kim Hayward, just kind of figuring out the culture and maybe turning things around. Not to say that I don't think the Bills are going to win that game, but I think we could see being down 21, getting a backdoor cover, 17, kicking a field goal, making it 14.
Yeah. Give us your 3 favorite picks. We are almost at time. I'm going to throw out who's due to score based on, who I know is going to score, and then we will wrap it up. All right. I'm gonna give my anytime touchdown scores this week. I think they're great. Starting off, I think the freest bet, which for sure I'm gonna jinx, is Jonathan Taylor and Kyron Williams +124. They both find the end zone. They're both great backs. I could honestly say without injury, this is going to happen. be all over that plus 124. Tyler Warren's due, Penn State guy, but Daniel Jones loves him. The offense loves him. I wouldn't hate putting like a Daniel Jones and Tyler Warren, maybe putting him with Puka, just taking two of them, but I'm going to be all over Sam Laporta anytime. Sam Laporta, 2 touchdowns. It's coming, and when it's going to come, it's going to pay big. Plus 1,500 for 2, plus 200 for 1. Pat Fryermuth is great pick last year. Now with Janu Smith, a little bit harder. I do think he's due sooner than later. And then the last one is Nico Collins anytime. Nico Collins for 2. I'm going to even have Nico Collins for 2 parlayed with Keon Coleman. I would go as far as to say that plus 2,280 is the bet that you want to be throwing on this weekend. All right, Dalt, give us your picks, and then let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I think my favorite game picks, I know I don't usually get in bet on the Eagles, but the Eagles notoriously have been bad against the Bucs, especially in Tampa Bay. But I think people forget in almost all of those games, the Eagles have been extremely banged up and practically their whole team being out. So I will be taking the Eagles minus 3.5. I also do love the Jags going to the Niners at plus 3. I think Matt Jones had a miracle pulling it out against that Cardinals team we saw last night on Thursday night, which was, in my opinion, just atrocious. Bosa out, Matt Jones in, no Kittle. I just think that team is due for a loss. So I'll be taking the Jags plus 3 and on the money line. And then gave my Saints pick. And then I know it's sickening to hear, but I will be taking the Giants plus 6 or plus 7, buying the point against Justin Herbert. I think Jackson Dart is going to come in and do his thing. Dable's back. His life is on the line. They're throwing the lifeline out, and I'll give it one more shot. And then I'll throw in my few touchdown scores as well. I think Devin A-Chain right now, we got him at minus 110. He's already at minus 120. I think he closes closer to minus 150, minus 160 in that game, which I also believe is going to go over on Monday night with the Dolphins and Jets. And again, I also loved Warren. I haven't taken him yet this year. I do think in that game, the Rams gave up a lot of points, as we saw last week, but they also scored. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. So Tyler Warren. And so my touchdown score parlay will be Nick Chubb against that atrocious Tennessee rush. Saquon Barkley is going to find the end zone in Tampa Bay, and then Tyler Warren. I think it's like 10 or 11 to 1.
All right. There you have it. This is week 1 of the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. We are going to get this rolling. We do not have a name yet. We are the nameless podcast to start. Let's have a weekend. Let's make some money. Let's put some trust in the guys so you come back next week. Let's work on getting some nicer backgrounds and getting our name up and off the ground. But don't excited for next week, man. Let's have a day this weekend.
I'm in Vegas, so I'm looking to get rich.
All right, there you are. All right, see you guys.